My mom is asleep, so I'm out of the room where I usually live stream, and I came here. The light is on and the fan is on. I'm not sure if you can hear me. Let me adjust my mic. I feel you cannot hear me. To hell with this. Okay, so I'm just checking if this is working or not, and while I'm checking, we will be reading chapter 3. So the 2 chapters I did are on Twitch, and I don't know how to download those videos. I think they're just gone forever off the market. Well, it was authentic. They were very authentic, and so will this be. I've read Percy Jackson first book. I've just read the first book, and I didn't even read it completely. I just read it till they meet Eris and he gives them some task. See, I cannot even remember the task. And I just remembered some smidges in the middle, so I'm not even completely sure what I read. So we are going to read again. You can read with me if you want. No pressure, as always. I'm always nervous. I don't know why, but I always am. And Percy Jackson, I love Greek mythology, and I'm not sure that Percy Jackson is the right way to go for Greek mythology, but I've always been interested in reading the retellings and the reimaginings of mythologies, and Percy Jackson happens to be one of them, and I think it is great that an entire generation and still other generations read them and are very, very inspired by it. So I'm not looking at Percy Jackson in any negative way. So we are going to start reading. I mean, you don't have to even see my face. It's not that important. I could have sat the other way, but it's weird because this is the closest you could come, and the level would be different. You don't need to worry about that. Anyway, so if you own a Percy Jackson book, we are starting with chapter 3. I would be reading, reviewing, and also reacting. Oh wow. I mean, I could name, instead of let's read, I could name it read, review, and react. It's for another day. If this works out for me, like if this live, I can upload it to my channel, and if it works out that way, then YouTube Live would be my space to do these sort of things, and I'm thrilled to have it. I'm tired of making YouTube videos. It's better to just go live and do show. So, starting with chapter 3. Also, I need this light. I could turn on that light. I have to get up. It's a mess. Honestly, it is a mess right now. I absolutely love the gloomy weather though. Fun fact, the gloomy weather here started when I started reading the first chapter of Percy Jackson. So I don't know if you're a believer or a dreamer or a delusional like I am, but I like to think that this happened because of me. It was raining cats and dogs until now. It has taken a bit of a rest, but let's see if it will. No, it is still raining. It's just it's not raining cats and dogs, but it's still raining up there. I'm glad that I could do that, and in this weather and in this environment. If you hear constant interruptions, Navratri is on its way, so there are things going on out there. And the fan is working because we are not turning on the AC. It's already cool atmosphere. I don't need to turn on the AC to make myself quiet down. Anyway, too much of a personal history here. Let's start with chapter 3. And if after chapter 3 we feel like it, if I feel like it, we'll go to chapter 4. Anyway, one chapter is too much. I don't speak a lot. I don't like to speak a lot. So after one chapter and reading it, I get hella tired. And so I just leave it for the good till the next day. I've been doing this one day at a time thing, but I think it's time I pick up my pace. It's 22 chapters and we're not getting anywhere near that. So again, I have said that like 5 times. Let's get started. So again, let's get started. Chapter 3. Grover unexpectedly loses his trousers. I don't know, guys. If you unexpectedly lose your trousers, imagine the embarrassment, especially when you are a different divine creature. Oh, wait, should I do something about this? If I cover this up, can you see me? No, I'm just a dark blob. It's better this way. Enjoy the plants behind me. My mother loves gardening. No, I love plants. It's not that. It's just it's better ambiance this way. And these lights that you see, they are solar powered. You stick them in the plant pot and they soak in the solar energy, and in the night when it's dark they light up. They did light up in the morning when it was hella dark and we had nothing. So okay, chapter 3. Confession time. I ditched Grover as soon as we got to the bus terminal. So in the last chapter, let's review the last chapters. I'm sorry for randomly starting chapter 3. In the first chapter, we saw that Percy Jackson vaporizes his maths teacher, who was a demon kind of thing. And we don't exactly know what that is till now. So he vaporizes his maths teacher because for him she was the maths teacher, but she wasn't. And at the end of the chapter 1, he was gaslit by Mr. Brunner and Grover, the 2 people he trusts the most, that he was dreaming and there was no one called Mrs. Dodds this entire time, this entire year that they've been studying. In chapter 2, he started retaliating. Things were getting too messy for him. He would have nightmares of the person he killed. He killed that beast with a ballpoint pen that turned into a sword. I would really love that ballpoint pen though. And chapter 2, they are going home, and Grover and Percy, they both get into the Greyhound bus and they are going back to the city, New York City, when he sees 3 older women knitting a sock, a huge sweater-sized sock, and then they snip and Percy kind of puts things together. Grover is scared and Percy kind of put things together, and he asks that if that means that someone is going to die. And the last line is, he looked at me mournfully like he was already picking the kind of flowers I'd like best on my coffin. So Grover told him that, made him promise that Percy would wait for him and that they will go home to Percy's together. But then in the beginning of chapter 3, we get a confession that Percy ditched Grover as soon as they reached the bus terminal. I know, it was rude, but Grover was freaking me out. looking at me like I was a dead man, muttering, "Why does this always happen? And why does it always have to be sixth grade?" Whenever he got upset, Grover's bladder acted up. So I wasn't surprised when, as soon as we got off the bus, he made me promise to wait for him, then made a beeline to the restroom. Instead of waiting, I got my suitcase, slipped outside, and caught the first taxi uptown. East 104th and First Avenue, I told the driver. "A word about my mother before you meet her. Her name is Sally Jackson, and she's the best person in the world, which just proves my theory that the best people have rottenest luck." Should I keep it this close? Should I read very quietly, like an ASMR? No. Her own parents died in a plane crash when she was 5 and was raised by an uncle who didn't care much about her. She wanted to be a novelist, so she spent high school working to save enough money for college with good creative writing program. That's me right now. No, that's literally me right now. I am filling up forms and I am applying to a lot of creative writing programs all over America. Not all over, but close enough. And my main interest is children's literature, but it doesn't. Uh, children's literature isn't exactly something I can um, master in this in America at least. So there is one or two university that have them, but other than that, it's all creative writing programs. Hope I get it. Let's pray together. Wait, I cut you off in the middle of the sentence. Then her uncle got cancer and she had to quit school in her senior year to take care of him. After he died, she was left with no money, no family, and no diploma. The only good break she ever got was meeting my dad. I don't have any memories of him, just this sort of warm glow, maybe the barest trace of a smile. My mom doesn't like to talk about him because it makes her sad. She has no pictures. See, they weren't married. She told me he was rich and important and their relationship was a secret. Then one day, he set sail across the Atlantic on some important journey and he never came back. Lost at sea, my mom told me. Not dead. Lost at sea. You know, that is so vague considering how we know what Percy's father is. I know the people. I've committed myself to a lot of spoilers, so I know kind of how the story will go, but I don't know the deep parts of it. So I think it's so vague of her to tell him that he's lost at sea and not dead. Just lost at sea. I love it. I love the writing that Rick Riordan has done in this book. I am live, right? She worked odd jobs, took night classes to get her high school diploma, and raised me on her own. She never complained or got mad, not even once. But I knew I wasn't an easy kid. Finally, she married Gabe Ogliano. I think by my face, never mind, not by my face. By the pause that I gave, I assume you understood why I paused after the name Gabe Ugliano, because it is literally in the name, Ugliano, who was nice the first 30 seconds he knew him, then showed his true colors as a world-class jerk. When I was young, I nicknamed him Smelly Gabe. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The guy reeked like moldy garlic pizza wrapped in gym shorts. Between the two of us, we made my mom's life pretty hard. The way Smelly Gabe treated her, the way he and I got along, well, when I came home is a good example. I walked into our little apartment hoping my mom would be home from work. Instead, smelly Gabe was in the living room playing poker with his buddies. The television was blaring. Crisps and beer cans were strewn all over the carpet. Hardly looking up, he said around his cigar, "So you're home. Where's my mom?" "Working. You got any cash?" That was it. No welcome back. "Good to see you. How was your life has been the last 6 months?" Gabe had put on weight. He looked like a tuskless walrus in thrift store clothes. Oh my god. I don't know, man. This is hilarious. Yeah, I might look like a witch right now, which is the vibe I'm going for. He had about 3 hairs on his head, all combed over his bald scalp, as if that made him handsome or something. He managed the electronics megamart in Queens, but he stayed home most of the time. I don't know why he hadn't been fired long before. He just kept on collecting paychecks, spending the money on cigars that made me nauseous, and on beer, of course. Always beer. Whenever I was home, he expected me to provide his gambling funds. He called that our guy secret, meaning if I told my mom, he would punch my lights out. "I don't have any cash." He raised a greasy eyebrow. Gabe could sniff out money like a bloodhound, which was surprising since his own smell could have covered everything up. Oh, I love it. You took a taxi from the bus station, probably paid with a 20. Got 6, $7 in change. Somebody expects to live under this roof. He ought to carry his own weight. Am I right, Eddie? Eddie, the superintendent of the apartment building, looked at me with a twinge of sympathy. "Come on, Gabe. The kid just got here." "Am I right?" Eddie scowled into his bowl of pretzels. The other two guys passed gas and harmony. "Ugh. Fine," I said. I dug a wad of dollars out of my pocket, threw the money on the table. "I hope you lose." "Your report card came, brain boy," he shouted after me. I wouldn't act so snooty. I slammed the door to my room, which really wasn't my room. During school months it was Gabe's study. He didn't study anything in there except old car magazines, but he loved shoving my stuff in the closet, leaving his muddy boots on my windowsill, and doing his best to make the place smell like his nasty cologne and cigars and stale beer. I dropped my suitcase on the bed. Home sweet home. Gabe's smell was almost worse than the nightmares about Mrs. Dodds or the sound of that old fruit lady's shears snipping the yarn. But as soon as I thought that, my legs felt weak. I remembered Grover's look of panic, how he'd made me promise I wouldn't go home without him. A sudden chill rolled through me. I felt like something, was looking for me right now, maybe pounding its way up the stairs, growing long, horrible talons. Then I heard my mom's voice. "Percy?" She opened the bedroom door and my fears melted. My mother can make me feel good just by walking into the room. Her eyes sparkle and change color in the light. Her smile is as warm as quilt. She's got a few gray streaks mixed in with her long brown hair, but I never think of her as old. When she looks at me, it's like she's seeing all the good things about me, none of the bad. I've never heard her raise her voice or say an unkind word to anyone, not even me or Gabe. "Oh, Percy, I can't believe it. You've grown since Christmas." A red, white, and blue sweater on America uniform smelled like the best things in the world. Chocolate, licorice, and all the other stuff she sold at the candy shop in Grand Central. She'd brought me a huge bag of free samples, the way she always did when I came home. We sat together on the edge of the bed. While I attacked the blueberry sour strings, she ran her hand through my hair and demanded to know everything I hadn't put in my letters. She didn't mention anything about my getting expelled. She didn't seem to care about it. But was I okay? Was her little boy doing all right? I told her she was smothering me and to lay off and all that, but secretly I was really, really glad to see her. From other room, Gabe yelled, "Hey Sally, how about some bean dip, huh?" I gritted my teeth. My mom is the nicest lady in the world. She should have been married to a millionaire, not some jerk like Gabe. For her sake, I tried to sound upbeat about my last days at Yancey Academy. I told her I wasn't too down about the expulsion. I'd lasted almost the whole year this time. I'd made some new friends. I'd done pretty well in Latin. And honestly, the fights hadn't been as bad as Headmaster said. I liked Yancey Academy. I really had. I put such good spin on the year. I almost convinced myself. I started choking up thinking about Grover and Mr. Brunner. Even Nancy Bobofit suddenly didn't seem so bad. Up until the trip to the museum. What? My mom asked. Her eyes tugged at my conscience, trying to pull out the secrets. Did something scare you? Yes, something always scares me. Isn't that the point? No, that is not written here. It's just me ranting. I think I should take this in my hand. I will yell at you with this. No, Mom. I felt bad lying. I wanted to tell her about Mrs. Dodds and the three old ladies with a yarn, but I thought it would sound stupid. She pursed her lips. She knew I was holding back, but she didn't push me. I have a surprise for you, she said. We're going to the beach. My eyes widened. Montauk! 3 nights. Same cabin. When? As soon as I get changed. I couldn't believe it. My mom and I hadn't been to Montauk the last 2 summers because Gabe said 3 wasn't enough money. Gabe appeared in the doorway and growled, "Bean dip, Sally, didn't you hear me?" I wanted to punch him, but I met my mom's eyes and I understood she was offering me a deal. Be nice to Gabe for a little while, just until she was ready to leave for Montauk. Then we would get out of here. I was on my way, honey. We were just talking about the trip. Gabe's eyes got small. The trip? You mean you were serious about that? I knew it. He won't let us go. Of course he will. Your stepfather is just worried about money, that's all. Besides, Gabriel won't have to settle for bean dip. I'll make him enough 7-layer dip for the whole weekend. Guacamole, sour cream, that works. Gabe softened for a bit. So, this money for your trip, it comes out of your clothes budget, right? Yes, honey. And you won't take my car anywhere but there and back. We'll be very careful. This is not exactly a relaxed environment, I would call it. I would rather be sitting on my bed than here, but my mom is sleeping and I don't want to be loud enough. And this is the only place I could be the loud enough person. I'm not exactly a loud person, but it is what it is. Here. Gabe scratched his double chin. Maybe if you hurry with that 7 layer dip, and maybe if the kid apologizes for interrupting my poker game. Maybe if I kick you in your soft spot, I thought, and make you sing soprano for a week. But my mom's eyes warned me not to make him mad. Why did she put up with this guy? I wanted to scream. Why did she care what he thought? I'm sorry. I'm really sorry I interrupted your incredibly important poker game. Please go back to it right now. Yes, that sounds just like me. He sounds just like me. Trust me, my parents are not happy about that. Gabe's eyes narrowed. His tiny brain was probably trying to detect sarcasm in my statement. Yeah, whatever, he decided. He went back to his game. Thank you, Percy. Once we get to Montauk, we'll talk more about whatever you've forgotten to tell me, okay? For a moment, I saw anxiety in her eyes. The same fear I'd seen in Grover during the bus ride. As if my mom, too, felt an odd chill in the air. But then her smile returned, and I figured I must have been mistaken. She ruffled my hair and went to make Gabe his 7 layer dip. An hour later, we were ready to leave. Gabe took a break from his poker game long enough to watch me lug my mom's bags to the car. He kept gripping and groaning about losing her cooking, and more important, his 78 Camaro for the whole weekend. Not a scratch on this car, brain boy. Not one little scratch. He warned me as I loaded the last bag. Like I'd be the one driving. I was 12. But that didn't matter to Gabe. If a seagull so much as pooped on his paint job, he'd find a way to blame me. Watching me lumber back towards the apartment building, I got so mad I did something I can't explain. As Gabe reached the doorway, I made the hand gesture I'd seen Grover make on the bus, a sort of warding off evil gesture, a clawed hand over my heart, then a shoving moment towards Gabe. The screen door slammed shut so hard it whacked him in the butt and sent him flying up the staircase as if he'd been shot from a cannon. Maybe it was just the wind or some freak accident with the hinges, but I didn't stay long enough to find out. I got in the Camaro and told my mom to step on it. The hand gesture that Percy told us, which is it? I don't know. Maybe, you see, I don't want to wait until December to find that out after watching Disney's Percy Jackson show. So if any of you know what hand gesture Percy was talking about, link me or something. Our rental cabin was on the South Shore, way out at the tip of the Long Island. It was a little pastel box with faded curtains, half sunken into the dunes. There was always sand in the sheets and spiders in the cabinets, and most of the time the sea was too cold to swim in. I loved the place. We'd been going there since I was a baby. My mom had been going even longer. She never exactly said, but I knew why the beach was so special to her. It was a place where she'd met my dad. As we got closer to Montauk, she seemed to grow younger, years of worry and work disappearing from her face. Her eyes turned the color of the sea. We got there at sunset, opened all the cabin's windows, went through our usual cleaning routine. We walked on blue jelly beans, blue saltwater taffy. No, wait. Oh, shit. I skipped an entire line. We walked on the beach, fed blue corn chips to the seagulls, and munched on blue jelly beans, blue saltwater taffy, and all the other free samples my mom had brought home from work. I guess I should explain the blue food. See, Gabe had once told my mom there was no such thing. They had this fight, which seemed like a small thing at the time, but ever since my mom went out of her way to eat blue. She baked blue birthday cakes, she mixed blueberry smoothies, she bought blue corn tortilla chips, and brought home blue candy from the shop. This, along with keeping her maiden name Jackson rather than calling herself Mrs. Ugliano, was proof that she wasn't totally suckered by Gabe. She did have a rebellious streak, like me. When it got dark, we made a fire. We roasted hot dogs and marshmallows. Mom told me stories about when she was a kid, back before her parents died in the plane crash. She told me about the books she wanted to write someday, when she had enough money to quit the candy shop. Eventually, I got up the nerve to ask about what was always on my mind whenever we came to Montauk, my father. Mom's eyes went all misty. I figured she would tell me the same things she always did, but I never got tired of hearing them. He was kind, Percy, she said. Tall, handsome, and powerful, but gentle too. You have his black hair, and his green eyes. Yes, water god. That is mild way of putting it. Mom fished a blue jelly bean out of her candy bag. I wish he could see you, Percy. Also, yes, the camera will stay tilted. This is how your life will be tilted. And mostly because there is no other way to support my phone. Mom fished out a blue jelly bean out of her candy bag. I wish he could see you, Percy. He would be so proud. I wondered how she could say that. What was so great about me, a dyslexic, hyperactive boy with a D+ report card, kicked out of school for sixth time in 6 years? How old was I? I asked. I mean, when he left. She watched the flames. He was only with me for one summer, Percy. Right here at this beach, this cabin. But he knew me as a baby. No, honey. He knew I was expecting a baby, but he never saw you. He had to leave before you were born. I tried to square that with the fact that I seemed to remember something about my father, a warm glow, a smile. I had always assumed he knew me as a baby. My mom had never said it outright, but still, I'd felt it must be true. Now, to be told that he'd never seen me. I felt angry at my father. Maybe it was stupid, but I resented him for going on that ocean voyage, for not having the guts to marry my mom. He'd left us, and now we were stuck with smelly Gabe. It is an interesting book, I won't lie. I'm having fun. Maybe next time I will do a Harry Potter series or a Narnia series. I wrote my dissertation on Narnia, so I have like all of the 7 books by heart. I think you can see me a bit now. It's all about adjustment. I adjust. Hardly. If you see my nose shining, it's never mind. Too personal. Are you going to send me away again? To another boarding school? She pushed a marshmallow from the fire. I don't know, honey. Her voice was heavy. I think we'll have to do something. Because you don't want me around? I regretted the words as soon as they came out. My mom's eyes welled up with tears. She took my hand, squeezed it tight. Oh, Percy, no. I I have to, honey. For your own good, I have to send you away. Her words reminded me of what Mr. Brunnen said, that it was best for me to leave Yancy. Because I'm not normal? You say that as if it's a bad thing, Percy. But you don't realize how important you are. I thought Yancy Academy should be far enough away. I thought you'd finally be safe. Safe from what? I don't know, safe from our mental health? She met my eyes, and a flood of memories came back to me. All weird, scary things that had ever happened. Hold up, there is a page that's dog-eared by someone. This is not exactly my book. It's a used book. It's an old book. But it's sad that no one has annotated it, so I cannot tell whose is this. And yes, I do not dog your books. Do not. This is seriously an advice. Do not dog your books. During third grade, a man in black trench coat had stalked me on the playground. When the teachers threatened to call the police, he went away growling. But no one believed me when I told them that under his broad-brimmed hat, the man only had one eye, right in the middle of his head. Before that, a really early memory. I was in preschool, and a teacher accidentally put me down for a nap in a cot with a snake that a snake had slithered into. My mom screamed when she came to pick me up and found me playing with a limp, scaly rope. I had somehow managed to strangle to death with my meaty toddler hands. In every single school, something creepy had happened, something unsafe I was forced to move. I knew I should tell my mother. I knew I should tell my mom about the old ladies at the fruit stand and Mrs. Dodds at the art museum about my weird hallucination that I had sliced my math teacher into dust with a sword. But I couldn't make myself tell her. I had a strange feeling the news would end our trip to Montauk, and I didn't want that. I tried to keep you as close to me as I could, my mom said. They told me that was a mistake. But there's only one other option, Percy, the place your father wanted to send you, and I just can't stand to do it. My father wanted me to go to a special school, a summer camp. My head was spinning. Why would my dad, who hadn't even stayed long enough to see me born, talk to my mom about a summer camp? And if it was so important, why hadn't she mentioned it before? I'm sorry, Percy, she said, seeing the look in my eyes, but I can't talk about it. I couldn't send you to that place. It might mean saying goodbye to you for good. For good. But if it's only a summer camp, she turned towards the fire, and I knew from her expression that if I asked her any more questions, she would start to cry. I feel bad for Sally. The poor woman went through so much. Seriously, like the parents of the demigod, the human parents of the halflings, half gods, half blood. My bad, half blood. My God, I forgot. They would have had to go through so much, and Is it mentioned ever in the book how the gods convince the human parents to keep the child? I think I should read and then ask questions. That night I had a vivid dream. It was storming on the beach, and two beautiful animals, a white horse and a golden eagle, were trying to kill each other at the edge of the surf. The eagle swooped down and slashed the horse's muzzle with its huge talons. The horse reared up and kicked at the eagle's wings. As they fought, the ground rumbled, and a monstrous voice chuckled somewhere beneath the earth, goading the animals to fight harder. Symbolism. I ran towards them, knowing I had to stop them from killing each other, but I was running in slow motion. I knew I would be too late. I saw the eagle dive down, its beak aim at the horse's wide eyes, and I screamed, "No!" I woke up with a start. Outside, it really was storming. The kind of storm that cracks trees and blows down houses. There was no horse or eagle on the beach, just lightning making false daylight, and 5-meter high waves pounding the dunes like artillery. With the next thunderclap, my mom woke. She sat up wide eyes and said, "Hurricane." I knew that was crazy. Long Island never saw hurricanes this early in the summer, but the ocean seemed to have forgotten. Over the roar of the wind, I heard a distant bellow, an angry, tortured sound that made my hair stand on the end. Then, a much closer noise like mallets in the sand. I de- a desperate voice, someone yelling, pounding on our cabin door. My mother sprang out of bed in her nightgown and threw open the door. Grover stood framed in the doorway against a backdrop, a pouring rain. But he wasn't. He wasn't exactly Grover. Searching all night. What were you thinking? My mom looked at me in terror, not scared of Grover, but why he'd come. "Percy," she said, shouting to be heard over the rain. "What happened at school? What didn't you tell me?" I was frozen looking at Grover. I couldn't understand what I was seeing. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to probably butcher it. Ozukai Aloy Theo. It's right behind me. Didn't you tell her? I was too shocked to register that he'd just cursed in ancient Greek, and I'd understood him perfectly. I was too shocked to wonder how Grover had gotten here by himself in the middle of the night, because Grover didn't have his trousers on. There, and where his legs should be, where his legs should be. My mom looked at me sternly and talked in a tone she'd never used before. "Percy, tell me now." I stammered something about old ladies at the fruit stand and Mrs. Dodds, and my mom stared at me, her face deathly pale in the flashes of lightning. She grabbed her purse, tossed me my rain jacket, and said, "Get to the car, both of you. Go." Grover ran for the Camaro, but he wasn't running exactly. He was trotting, shaking his shaggy hindquarters, and suddenly his story about a muscular disorder in his legs made sense to me. I understood how he could run so fast and still limp when he walked. Because where his feet should be, there were no feet. There were cloven hooves. That was a long ass chapter. I don't think I. See, I told you, I do not have the energy to go through another chapter. I know, but this is also good for me. One chapter at a time. It is still raining. I like this weather. I love this weather. It's cool, it's nice, but it's the humidity that doesn't work well with my hair. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. We will continue chapter 4 tomorrow. Same place, same time. Probably same time. Thank you for joining, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye. Oh, also, if you have Percy Jackson books, Don't hesitate to bring them out. Let's read it together. That is what this session is, us reading it together, sharing views and whatnots. Okay, I think that was it. Thank you. Bye.